Hi students, Mr. Metelsky here, and this problem, or this video, will be covering interest and proceeds. Interest and proceeds. So we're going to take a look. It says find the interest in dollars and the proceeds for the following problem. Sammy received a $680 discount loan to purchase a recliner. The loan was offered at 9.5% for 180 days. Find the interest in dollars and the proceeds. Okay, so first we need to figure out the interest. And the interest is equal to the principal times the rate times the time. Now, what are those two things? Well, the principal in your problem is your starting amount. Your rate is usually listed as a percent, but it needs to be converted to a decimal. So you're given a rate like, let's say 15%. You would have to convert that to a decimal and make it 0.15. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. And then the time is years. So in our particular problem, let's make a little list of what we have. The principal, or we're going to call it variable P, is the original amount of money, which is a 680 discount loan. So 680. The rate, which we're going to use a lowercase r, the rate is the percent. Now keep in mind, right now it's 9.5%. But we're not going to use 9.5 when we actually plug it into our equation. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to come over here and we're going to look at 9.5%. And in order to convert that into a decimal, you move the decimal place 2 places to the left. So we're going to go 1, 2, put a new decimal and fill in any loops with zeros. So really 9.5 is really 0.095. Okay. Lastly, we have T for time. Now I drew a little T with sort of that little curly Q at the bottom. That's because if I just draw a regular T, it almost looks like a plus sign. Now years. Notice how we have 180 days. We're not going to be using 180 in our calculation. That wouldn't make sense here because we're not talking about 180 years. We're talking about 180 days. So we need to figure out what fraction or what decimal value that is out of a year. So I know that 1 year is 365 days. So if I take 180 and divide it by 365, I would get the fraction of a year, or the decimal of a year, that 180 is. So if we take a moment and do that, 180 divided by 365 days in a year, that's 0.493. Now, for our purpose, because we're working in the real world here. I mean, 49%, that is approximately 1/2, or 0.5. So we're going to use that as our figure. Instead of 0.493, we're just going to use 1/2. So our final step here in our interest part is to come and use the formula and plug the parts in. So interest equals the principal, which is $680, times the rate, which is 0.095, times the time, which we got to be a half a year, or 0.5. So we're going to take a moment and plug that into our calculator. 680 times 0.095 times 0.5, and we're going to get 32.3, or $32.30. So that is our interest amount. Okay, interest. Now let's take a look at the proceeds. So the proceeds, because this is an interest-first loan, the proceeds is equal to the principal minus the interest. Okay, so in our case, the principal was the original amount right here, the $680. And what we're going to do is we're going to subtract the interest, which is $32.30. So if we take a moment and do that, 680 minus 32.30, that gives us an amount of $647.70. So that would be our proceeds. Just remember, again, when you do your interest, that the rate is given as a percent, but it needs to be converted to a decimal. And also the time is given in years. So if you're given days, you need to convert that to years. All right, good luck.